So we introduced two functional movements, a squat and a hinge. And a hinge is embedded in the squat, as we went over in the squat and hinge videos. And now we're going to put those two exercises together to just give you an idea of where and how they appear in real life, because everything we do at Alkalign is functional, meaning it is meant to contribute to your daily life. It's very practical. You're going to see this stuff pop up all over during your day. And the more mindful you can be about these exercises and the way we practice engaging different muscles is really going to help you in all the fun stuff you do, like, you know, bending down to pick up your brand new puppy, or, you know, bending down to, pick up after your puppy, right? So I'm going to show you a little sequence today. What you need for this is a stable surface, and it would be really great if you can pull off that stable surface. So either a countertop that you can like hold on to the edges, or even I like to do this a lot of times in my sink. Like I put my hands inside the sink and stand up. I'm in one of our studio locations. I'm going to hold on to the stable surface, which here at Alkalign we call a bar. It's just a horizontal surface that's really well secured into the wall. Okay, so we talked about hinging, which, remember, if you find your standing posture, soften your knees and imagine again like the string is pulling you forward, or you're looking over the side of a cliff. Now we're going to do that in a little bit more repetition. We're going to do a few of those, which we call a deadlift, and then we're going to layer on a squat, and we're going to set together like a little sequence, and I'm going to time it. So I'm starting my watch just to make sure we are pretty balanced between the front of our body and the back of our body. Okay, so hold on to your stable surface, soften your knees. I'm actually going to hold on with one hand and put one hand on my hip, and then from here, attach that string to the wall in front of you, and you're going to hinge forward and stand up. Hinge forward and stand up. So root down through your feet. Notice that I'm not rocking into my toes. Notice I'm not rocking back into my heels. It's just a hip hinge. When do we use this in life? How about spitting out your toothpaste? Have you ever tried to spit out your toothpaste without hinging? It would dribble right down your front, right? So you got to hinge forward. Now you can decide your range of motion. You can come down a little bit lower and then push through your feet, engage your glutes to stand up. This is a great way to strengthen the back of your body. Again, it's called a deadlift. You may have heard these. You may have seen, people hold a weight. You can definitely add that in as we go. But what I want you to avoid in this deadlift is a couple things I see a lot. One is people coming down too low, right? And then the other thing is rounding through the back. Can you see how my back is rounding? So I let you have one hand on the stable surface. Take your opposite hand to your low back. You should feel a little small curve in your spine. You can take one hand to your abdominals. Pull your abdominals in as you hinge forward. That's going to protect your back. Okay, so push down through your feet, and as you stand up, pull your heels back. Okay. We're going to go this 4 more times, and then we're going to add a squat. I encourage you to hold on. 2. All right, last one. Now I'm still holding on, and you're going to sit your hips back this time and stand up. So remember in the squat video, we talked about parallel squats and turned out squats. We're in a parallel squat here. If you have a hard time, keep going. But if you have a hard time stabilizing your knees, if your knees are coming in or your knees are coming really far forward, this is a good place to grab a pillow, or maybe even if you have a yoga block or a squishy ball, you can put that between the inner thighs. That will help you stabilize. But I really like holding onto a stable surface and pulling off of it so you can get your weight back. I see a lot of people bring their knees too far forward in squats, and it's just a lot of load with this repetitive movement, and you can get a little bit more work for your hamstrings here and your glutes when you sit back a little bit. And then we're going to layer on even more. When you come up, say holding on, add a heel raise, and then set your heels down, sit back into your squat, stand up, lift your heels. Now you're adding on mobility and strength for your feet. Believe it or not, your feet crave this, because your feet are your foundation and they spend so much time in shoes. I often refer to shoes as sensory deprivation chambers. I have nothing against shoes. I own a lot of shoes, and it's not like I'm walking around the world barefoot, but I do give my feet recess daily, bare feet, right? You'll never see us wear shoes in any of our Alkalign classes because we want you to build that strength in your feet. And a lot of the problems we have upstream from our feet are actually related to things happening down there. The feet are also really far away from your brain, so we lose touch with them. So it's sort of like out of sight, out of mind. Oh, they're way down there and they're covered all the time. I forgot they exist. So this is really good to strengthen your feet, mobilize your feet. You're also strengthening your calves. Okay, I have 4 more counts. We're gonna go back to the deadlifts in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, set it down. Same thing, start with your knees soft, so not deeply bent, but not locked out. Remember, if you're a hyperextender through your knees, sometimes you'll sit into your low back. So soften your knees, attach that little string to your sternum, and then peek over the cliff and stand back. Spit out your toothpaste, stand back up. Whatever life cue works for you. Hinge forward and stand up. So the really important thing to remember in hinging is that you want to keep your abdominals engaged. Sometimes the other thing I see with hinging is people move too fast. Like, you know that little toy where like on the spring, it's like a little bird or something? That's what it reminds me of. You want to lead, think about going out as you lower down and then lift up and squeeze your glutes. Hinge forward, lift up, squeeze your glutes. This might seem silly, but it's helping you build the strength and the mind-body connection to do this through life. I hinge a lot. I have this little crush on the dust buster at my house. I have 2 young kids and a dog, and I'm constantly like following around and dust busting up things, and I try to do it in a neutral spine because it can be really hard. Like if you're dust busting, another thing where I hear a lot of people complain about their low back is things like gardening or even like riding a bike. A lot of people are riding a bike, hinge forward, but kind of rounding the back, sitting on the handlebars, which compresses your discs in your low back. So you can practice all these movements for whatever in life inspires you. Okay, we're gonna layer on a little bit here. So really important to hold on. We're actually gonna lift one leg at a time. If this is too much, go back to a double leg deadlift. Okay, so you're gonna hold on, sweep your right leg back, hinge forward, and stand up. Hinge forward, stand up. Okay, so what I notice in single leg deadlifts is that the legs start swinging and the hip will start opening like this. We say at Alkalign, momentum is not a muscle. So momentum isn't going to do anything for your strength. So you want to move slowly and use your muscles to create and control the movement rather than introducing momentum. So hinge forward, stand up, pull your left heel back. You can actually feel it more in your standing leg when one leg's lifting. I can feel the standing heel traction back a little bit more. You have 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take a little break for the standing leg. So the foot that was just down, reach back, take a hold of that ankle, soften your standing knee, slide your leg back, and then we're gonna switch sides. Okay, so stand on your right foot this time. I'll turn this way a little bit more so you can see me. And then shift your left leg back. So your standing leg is slightly softened and your hip bones are pointing forward towards whatever's directly in front of you as you come up and towards the floor as you hinge forward in the same balance, right? Again, I'll see the hips opening like this. So not only is that not as ideal for your pelvic alignment, but it does introduce momentum a lot of times. So go really slowly, and even if this pace is too fast for you, slow it down. Please, please, please hold on to a stable surface. I see people all the time trying to let go, and then their balance becomes so wonky that it destabilizes the hips and the knees. And it's just more risk than it's worth. I say, hold on, right? There's no shame in that game. A little stability Goes a long way. We're gonna go back to the squat in 5, 4, 3, 2. We'll take a little stretch first. Set your left foot down, take your right ankle into your right hand, soften your standing leg, slide your right knee back. This is called a standing quadriceps stretch. Okay, this time we're gonna practice the turned out squat. So before we had the feet parallel, now you're gonna step your feet out a little bit wider than your hips. I say approximately, a little bit wider hips and toes approximately at 11 and 1 on a clock face, but everybody's different. I want you to just avoid this, like, you ever seen like the 9 and 3 that like wedges your hips? The hips aren't meant to go that way. Okay, so face your stable surface again. You can hold on to a door jamb, hold on to a kitchen counter, put your hands in the sink, pull off and stand up. Sit back and stand up. So notice my hips are going way back, like I'm trying to sit on a teeny tiny kindergarten stool. Sit back and stand up. So remember the things we talked about in the squat video, right? The things I see are people's knees coming forward, or their feet and shins are so tight that the heels lift up. You should be able to ground through all surfaces of your foot. I notice people coming too low and then kind of like dumping into their low back. And I see the dive bombing upper body. So keep your chest lifted, let your hips dictate how low you go. Keep your abdominals engaged. If you need to take your hands off your stable surface to give yourself a little tactile feedback, do that. And then put your hand back on the stable surface and add a heel raise. Again, articulating through those joints in your feet. Neutral spine for all of these exercises. There are 3 different positions of the spine we refer to at Alkalign: neutral, flexion, and extension. We spend most of Alkalign in neutral, and our hope is that you spend most of the rest of your day in neutral, including when you sleep. I bet you've never thought about your spinal position when you sleep. We have a whole program on posture and alignment and all the things you don't think about, like walking, standing, sitting, sleeping. Okay, you have 4 more counts. 3, 2, nice job. Stand up, bring your feet back into parallel, cross your left ankle over your right thigh, and sit back. You can do this holding onto a stable surface. Some people are going to be high, maybe your ankle's a little bit lower if you've got cranky knees or hips. Maybe you can sit down a little bit lower. Again, I see people round their back here. Stay in neutral and lead with your hips, just like you did in your squat. Notice that my standing knees over my ankle, I'm not letting it come forward. The alignment principles apply in stretching just as much as the strengthening. And then stand up, switch sides, sit your hips back, and then stand up. So that's a little combination of putting the hinge and the squat together. Go try it out in life and let me know how it goes.